Hey everyone, Leonardo here again. Thank you for clicking on me, and here I am again after being clicked on. We're showing you not a new guitar. Basically, it's a redo, cosmetic upgrade, hardware upgrade, electronics upgrade. And I need to thank Mike Choppa, actually, an old buddy of mine from college, who had a red Squire Strat that he had kind of laying around. And he kind of played it, kind of didn't play it, and I held on to it for years and years and years, and it became this guitar. So, Mike, I will hook you up with a new awesome guitar. This one's kind of become part of the family. We talked about it. So, thanks, Mike. You're awesome. I want to show you what I did to it, man. I have affectionately renamed the guitar the Jessica Strat, and I'll show you why. This is another example of how you can take a regular guitar, get it into the hands of somebody like me who can kind of think of these hardware and electronic combinations to turn a normal instrument into something that's completely personalized while at the same time being totally universal and recognizable. And so I'll show you kind of how I did that. Like I said, it started its life as a regular red Squire Strat, and it still basically is. You got the maple neck, the red body, but other than that, everything is different. When it came, it had the standard white pick guard with the 3 single coil pickups, the real kind of cheap pickups. They don't sound too hot. They kind of just sound like whatever. Regular non-locking tuning pegs that kind of had some play in them. The typical Squire setup, where it's a decent platform, but not so hot with the hardware and electronics. It's thundering and lightning today. It's trying to tell me something. What got me and Mike excited about the guitar was the neck, and we'll take better pictures of it, but the neck, they must have let this one slide through because it has a nice figure to it where it's got some like sideways flame going on, and it just looks really, really great. So we decided to hang on to it and make it into something special. So the way that I can take a normal guitar and take it over the top is by changing it. And the first thing that we changed on it from top to bottom is by the tuning pegs. And for once, I'm not using Sprazels. I'm using Schallers or Schallers or whatever you call them. I'm from Texas, right? So these are locking Schallers. They're chrome. They have the chrome thumb wheels in the back. Pretty much the same principle as any other locking tuner. Of course, the B back here to let you know that I took care of it. The Schallers actually went out over the Sprazels just to give it more of a traditional Strat vibe and feel. They just look great. They're kind of smaller than the Sprazels are, and they just fit really nicely with the overall visual vibe. Changed the string trees from what were on there, which is the little bent metal, gonna rust and cut your strings up thing that is usually put on here, and I put some nice roller trees, which there's some debate about all this stuff, but at least they're gentler on the strings, than a potentially sharp piece of metal. And also, because I put these on here, I got to place where the angle, how much angle comes down behind the nut. So I got it to respond in a certain way down by the low frets. We'll talk about the logo here in a second. Looks like a Jackson logo, but I put together this custom logo. I got the pick guard and the back plate replaced with this nice cream vintage pearl, which isn't normally available. Normally you get kind of a cheap white looking pick guard, but I opted for a nice rich creamy looking pearl, just to kind of darken the whole vibe and make it look a little bit older, I suppose. And got it custom cut so that it fits the bridge humbucker, which again is the Bill Lawrence USA XL500. And there's a lot of controversy about that pickup and what's a real Lawrence and what's not a real Lawrence. I dig the BL USAs. I dig the Bill and Becky's. I'm going to do a separate video where I compare the Bill and Becky's to the XL500s on these two very similar guitars I have, so you can really hear the differences between them, if in fact there are any. And there are a few. But overall, it's a really good pickup, and I dig the way it sounds, so it's in a lot of my guitars. The neck pickup is a single coil made by a company called Roadhouse, and I think they're out of Colorado. And this is actually a little bit of an overwound pickup, but I stuck it in the neck position. And compared to the XL500, it's quieter, being a single coil. This one's pretty hot, and of course you can see that there's not a third hole. There's just these two controls back here, and I got it hooked up to where it's just the single coil, both of them together, and just the bridge humbucker, right? And this is the volume control for the bridge humbucker, and that's the volume control for the neck single coil. So it's more of a performance vehicle. You know, it's not really something where you want to find a certain sweet spot. You crank her up and you rock it out. The other thing that I did to it was I put some graph-tec saddles back here. Has kind of two benefits. One, it kind of dampens the sound down a little bit and gets it from being so tingy, makes it a little more even, and they do help with the string breakage. You don't break a lot of strings back here as much. And plus, them being black, kind of blended in with the other things I was doing. You know, the black pickups, the black switch tip, the knobs, they kind of recall this black inlay here. So the whole thing kind of has, like I said, like a recognizable yet totally personal vibe. And the tip top of the whole thing is this awesome Jessica logo. My wife's name is Jessica, and so I wanted to put her name on a guitar. That just looked killer. And so I got a Jackson Guitars font and kind of appropriated some of the letters to make it read Jessica. And I put a little rhinestone on for the dot on the I. So it's like just extra special cool. Hey. And I wanted to show you kind of how it sounds with some nice clean stuff, with some good dirty stuff. It's a real rock and roll machine, man. It doesn't do the down and dirty stuff like the baritone did, but it's a Strat and a half, and it really kind of is a hot rod. And that XL500 back there really kicks it up. I love that pickup. It's freaking awesome. So anyway, that's the Jessica Strat. Another example of how I can help you take a guitar that just anybody else has, make it something completely unique and completely badass. And thanks very much for watching. Hit me on Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, however you get a hold of me. Find me out there. I'll see you out there.